unless something like wonderful like falls into place, and then I'm like, okay, it's a sign that I should stay. I just wanted to have options.
It's interesting you say that because my friend who I've traveled with, and his biggest trip, he went to China for 3 months, and he was just here a few hours ago. And he really wants to go traveling, and he has like this big desire to go traveling. And, there's all these variables. And I'm like, well, he tells me, like, I want to make sure when I come home, like, I have enough money to like find an apartment and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's like, what's holding you back? And like, I wanted to ask you that question because you have a pretty good travel resume. You've been on in the about probably at least 2 years of actual travel if you like accumulate it all. And what advice would you give to him?
I guess, and this is advice that I'm trying to follow myself. Like I have to catch myself and be like, oh, but my advice would be like, follow your heart. Like stop looking through your logical, rational headspace and like try to feel what your heart space is telling you and then like do that. And then release all of your, like, because all of your fears come from a very logical, rational place.
Right.
Oh, I can't go home because I'm scared I won't find a place to live, or I'm scared I won't have enough money. And that's all like coming from up here. But if you turn all that off and you're like, well, my heart is telling me that I want to be back home in that physical place with those people, then then you can try to like shut all that head stuff off and follow your heart. And like that's been a huge challenge for me lately, and I've had tons of conversations with good friends of mine that I've met here of like, why is it so hard to follow your heart? And people are like, because you have a mind, and like but by your body like what's right, whether it's starting a new job or quitting a job or having a friendship or like having a romantic partner. Like if you can tune in to what your body feels, you will know the answers. It's when you stop listening to your body that things get confusing and decisions become very difficult. And I think like as adults in today's society, we're so programmed to like think things through and like be rational and like make pros and cons lists and like really think it out. But I think that if you reverted almost back to a childlike state of like, well, what does like animal Jeff want to do right now? You would, like you would know the answer instantly. And like all of those other things are just trying to like muck about. And so that would be my advice would be follow your heart. And that's not I'm not a pro at that, but I'm really really trying.
That's an amazing answer. I love that answer because to differentiate, to like put a partition between, yeah, like your sensory feelings and then this headspace here, which like, oh, I could talk for hours about that, how like indecisiveness, like pro and con lists, like what you're talking about. But yeah, if you can like get back to when you can just feel what's right, like with anything, like you said, even relationships, it's like, oh, like should I be with this person? And it's like you got to get out of here and just listen to Animal Jeff. That's hilarious.
Animal Jeff want right now, and that's what does Animal Jin want and need, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know why I want to go back home, but my body is telling me that I want to. Like, what's waiting for me back there that I don't even know exists right now? So I'm like, okay, I just need to like listen to my heart, release my fears and my worries and my concerns, and just do it. And know that if I manifest like beautiful things, that like everything will work out. Like it will be fine.
That that's something I'm really trying to start doing with like meditation and like starting to just be more aware, be more mindful and be more aware of my surroundings and like, walking by a painting or a picture and like really looking at it. And like even with the tattoo, like you see people with tattoos like we talked about and you're like, "Oh, that's a cool tattoo." it's a sea creature or whatever, and like, actually think about trying to get the backstory. How does it make the person feel? Like, why did they get it? Why did they get it there? And you had a cool story. So it's definitely, in the information technology age where like it's difficult to get away from that gets us stuck in here. But that's a great answer. I love that.
Thank you. It reminded me a lot of like when I the young people like that I worked with back home, like to art museums and stuff. And we would like look at a painting together and then they would like look to me and they would be like, what does it mean? And then I would be like, well, I think it's less about like what it means and like more about like how does it make you feel?
Yeah, yeah.
And then they're like, oh, this makes more sense if I'm trying to look at everything that's around me and then interpret it based on how it makes me feel. Then like I feel like clarity comes instead of trying to like very objectively determine meaning because that's just exhausting. Like you'd never figure it out constantly. Just be like, what does it mean?
Too many
So yeah,
facts. Too
too
many
many facts.
facts.
Yeah. Yes.
And I feel like we don't talk about that a lot where you're like, yeah, how does oh, have you heard that song? You're like, oh yeah, it's a good song. I wonder what it's about. Whereas it's like, imagine just saying, wow, have you heard that new who's some like Lady Gaga song or something? You're like, how does it make you feel, man? Or whatever. I just feel like,
It's a completely different way to reframe. Like I have a friend here in New Zealand and every once in a while he will send me a poem and he'll be like, here are some words. How does it make you feel? And I'm like, oh, this is so cool that I have a friend, especially a male friend, that like wants to talk about feelings, like because we get programmed to not talk about it, especially men. And so I'm like, this is so cool. Why don't we talk about things in terms of feelings instead of I'm challenging myself to try to do that more, being a feelings based person.
cool, cool. It's true. And you have to just be the person to bring up those questions, and you're going to be different, but it's good to be different, and it'll make people think. Or it'll make people feel, actually. They'll have like a thought like, what kind of question is this? But then they'll be like, oh, how does this make me feel? I've never thought about that.
Is that? Oh, I do have feelings. It's like a whole nother. Thanks for reminding me. Like